Thanks for joining us. You know how it works. It's a new week. We have 2 new games from the Epic Games Store that are free for 1 week. And before we get to the games, I have to remind you that we have 2 unofficial mottos for this channel. One of those is, it's not for everyone, because most games are not for everyone.
Yeah.
The second unofficial motto,
Caleb doesn't like horror games.
well, in this video, we are going to challenge one of those mottos because we have layers of fear. And we've talked about some horror games from the Epic Games Store in the past.
But it was never truly a horror.
No, they were
but
not.
this time, it's different. It's really a horror.
This is really a horror game that is only trying to make you jump out of your chair.
Yeah.
And it works. Did you jump, Mika?
I did jump several times, even though I'm used to horrors. I did jump several times at the beginning.
And you know, I have to say that with all of my talk about not liking horror games, this is the first real horror game that I've played. And I think my dislike of horror games comes from my dislike of horror movies.
Okay.
And this is a bit of a different
So this
experience.
is your first real horror game?
I have lost my horror virginity.
Okay.
Which is a really awkward sentence. But that's the case. And I jumped a lot. I may have screamed like a little girl at a couple points. I may have lost the respect of my wife who was watching me play it.
I wasn't screaming, but jumping. Yeah.
There was no one in the room with you, so there's no way of knowing.
But I have to say, even though it was scary, like jumping scary at the times, once you get used to it in a way that you will find out that there is nothing to kill you
That's true.
and everything is just ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
I lost the tendency to be scared because of it.
It's a good point that I wish that it was actually possible to die or that you would
That
have
would
to
not
escape from
work.
things. It would add to the atmosphere because even without that, the atmosphere and the story and the way they use the mechanics of the game I found to be very effective to very quickly create a very frightening atmosphere.
Yes, but very effective, like for the first hour, I would say, and then it would not be working for me anymore because then I would get like similar jumps. I would make it like if the first hour would be as it is, and then I would take a break, and maybe there would be no scare moments, like be more detective, and only like sometimes
When
not
you're
all the
least
time,
expecting
not all
it.
the time,
Yeah, I can see that it gets a little bit repetitive, and I think it was scary for me longer than it was for you.
yeah. That's,
Because it was my first time.
yeah.
But
it
does.
wasn't scary for you like all the way, right?
No, and I think at a certain point realizing that you can't die and there's no consequences, I got a bit more used to it. But then at that point, around that point, the story kind of took over, and I wanted to know more about the story. I wanted to know what had happened. I wanted to know how it would end. And I found it even more than a horror game. I found it to be an excellent example of visual storytelling. It really used a lot of different elements to tell a story in a, like, not by writing it out and you read it like a book, but of showing you the story. This I found to be really skillful.
So there are some papers in the game that you can actually read. Did you read them?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of them? Okay.
Yeah, all the ones that I found, yeah. So I got really into the story. I wanted
That
to know
there
what
are
happened.
actually like no visible characters in the game except the ghost. And I kind of like that the main character is like
Spoilers. No spoilers?
we can do some
Spoilers are coming.
because this is important.
Continue.
This is important because the main character feels like it's not a character because he doesn't comment anything. You don't know who he is, and when he gets scared, he doesn't make any noises. So I was lacking this
A connection to the
connection
protagonist.
to the protagonist.
I can see that. I mean, there are things to criticize, and maybe for me it's because I had low expectations, or I expected to not like it, and it's my first experience of a true horror game, but brace yourselves. Everyone sitting down. Yeah, I really liked it. Like
I expected that.
I don't think that means that I will start playing horror games in my free time just because, but it actually gave me a real experience. It was not boring. That's my point. These other horror games that we played in the past were boring. This was not boring. It was
At least not
beautiful.
for the
It
beginning.
was interesting. So I was really impressed, and also I think that you should play it, even if you're not a big fan of horror games. I think that this one is worth playing.
I think it could be, but I would really recommend it only to horror players because if you don't like to be scared, you will get scared.
Yeah,
For
it's,
sure.
It's effective for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see some another weakness of the game that you don't have a flashlight. At least not in the original game, but there's a DLC 2, and you got flashlight in there.
Okay.
But there's like another short story because in the DLC you're gonna get back to the house once it's destroyed, and it's from the
Spoilers! Sorry,
And
too late.
actually, the DLC I like more with the flashlight, and actually the character speaks.
I wonder when was the last time this place saw sunlight?
So if it would be in the original, I would say yes, but only for the horror players, I say yes. Play this game, but otherwise you don't have to.
And I would expand that to say that if you've never played a horror game and you want to see what it's like, this one might actually be a good way to start because it is scary, but it's not terrifying and you're afraid for your life like some games where you can you can kind of get used to it.
Okay, that's good.
So it might be a nice gentle way to lose your horrorginity. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Well, let us know what you think. Let us know if you've played this before, and hey, let's expand the question. Tell us, what is your favorite horror game?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Maybe the favorite horror game that Caleb should
Okay.
play after this one.
Here we go. We should do a let's play with a camera on me, so that
Maybe.
our loyal fans.
If you want that, hit like on
If
that.
we get 100 likes, you will get to see me screaming like a little girl at the horror game of your choice.
Okay. I will have to do some likes there. Okay.
Thanks for watching,
Thanks,
everyone.
See you in the next video.
Bye.